All right, welcome back to ROI Live in 5 minutes, results right away, and an opportunity to get you 3x return. Back with Jerica today, we are talking about leveraging your data and leveraging your conversion rates. So, what's that about, Jerica? We were just on last week, but I'm intrigued by this one. So, tell me about that.
Yeah, totally. So I think that a lot of us know that, what gets measured grows. I think that's something that we know a lot, but actually putting it into practice can be really tricky and really difficult. And I think some of it comes in from, not understanding how to actually interpret the numbers and the tracking that we're getting. And so I think one of the things that we can focus on in our tracking that makes it really easy is actually focusing on conversion rates versus focusing on like specific numbers. So for
Okay.
example, what that might look like is instead of being focused on number of contracts signed and numbers of appointments, if we focus on the conversion rate, how many appointments did we go on that turned into a contract, right?
Mhm.
What that does is it gives us control
Yeah.
over what's actually happening and what the number looks like.
Yeah.
Because it's super focused on what impact you had on those numbers, as opposed to just being two numbers that can kind of separate yourself from the result a little bit.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons that I really love tracking conversion rates and presenting conversion rates to the team, more importantly,
Yeah.
versus just kind of hard and fast numbers for things.
I love that. Yeah, I had a mentor one time that like really helped me first understand that. Now, this can work, of course, with sales, but this can work with any part of your business, your marketing, your operations. And one of the things he was talking about with sales was who are the people that don't know you? Who are the people that have heard of you? And then, the people you're in conversation with versus the people that are meeting you for appointments or actually that are booking appointments, then meeting appointments, and then like you can look at those conversion rates within each of those segments, right? And so you can influence this in so many different ways when you really get into it. But tell me a little bit more about, how this works and like, let's simplify this a little bit for
Yeah.
people listening. Like, let's say, you're at basic level of this. How would you start this? How would you
Yeah.
build something out and get a 1% better, let's say?
Totally. So I think you can start with a simple spreadsheet. So some people find it hard to go to a spreadsheet to fill out every week. I like to have some sort of Google form that auto sends to me or Jot form that auto sends to me that I can just plug my quick numbers in. And then it can feed into a spreadsheet that has formulas. And so
Okay.
basically what you want it to say is result divided by input or output divided by input, right? That will be your conversion rate. So you can set up some simple formulas. So at a glance, you can just kind of check and see, okay, great. I had 4 appointments set. Two of them turned into contracts. I had a 50% conversion rate. So
Yeah.
that way you're focused just on the percentage. And now I think it's really important. It's not just a sales metric. So you can input conversion rates for your contract to close process. How many of my clients are starting with us and ending with us, right? Those are some other conversion rates that you can kind of take a quick look at. Again, it's about empowering your team and not making it scary.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best part about focusing on conversion versus a specific number.
Yeah.
Because somebody might say, if you're putting pressure on people, we have to close X amount of contracts per month, right? Versus we need to maintain X conversion rate. That gives everybody a little bit of elbow room to make some mistakes. It gives
Okay.
everybody a little bit of elbow room for us to not be able to control clients in the process, which we all know is impossible. So it just hopefully in some ways allows you guys to have numbers-based conversations that are effective and not stressful.
Yeah, I mean, numbers don't lie. I think that's one of the
Yeah.
advantages of having them. Like, even if you're building this out in a simple way, like you said, from a, hey, let's keep it really simple. I mean, you could start building these out around your marketing or your sales, or there's different
Yep.
departments of your business that you should down the road look at each one of them. But I think if you're keeping it simple, it's all about getting a framework of making this work for you, right? So at least are you winning or losing, right? I think that's sometimes the problem in business if you're kind of unclear. So let's say you do that simple spreadsheet thing. What's an ROI that you think you'd get from some of this? Let's go with conversion rates and sales as an example.
Yeah, totally. I think as soon as you start to focus on conversion rates, it allows you to zero in specifically on what the problem is. And then amplify that exact skill. So in terms of ROI, it should be pretty direct. As soon as you start tracking them, obviously we're not going to see the results turn over immediately. That'll depend on how quickly you're, contacting people or going on appointments or things like that. But I find it very easy to get that 3 times ROI just by tracking that specific number. For example, 1 month, if you're tracking conversion rates and you see that 50% conversion rate, you may see 2 to 3 months from there that you have increased that because you've zeroed in on that exact skill.
Yeah.
So that's where you can really start to see that 3 times return where it started maybe at 50% and now maybe it's at 75%, which if we track that all the way down the line in terms of dollars and cents for contracts closed, is where you'll really see that ROI come in, not necessarily in the conversion rate itself. We're not going to go from 50 to 150, but in the actual, like I got an additional contract. That contract was worth X.
Yeah.
That's where you'll start to see that return.
I love that. And I promise you, even if you just sat down and you looked at this for 30 minutes, which I think is simple, right? Like, again, you got to make time for growing your business. You can't always be in the whirlwind of it. This will shine spotlight for you, even just in awareness. When I did this at first, I was like, oh, actually, I need to find people that don't know about me. That was what, when I first went through our conversion, it was like, oh, well, that's where I need to be spending my energy. It's the people that don't know about our business. So it'll bring some real clarity on that pipeline. If that's something that you hear from today and you want more of a scope of that, we are happy to share some of that with you and what good conversion rates would look like no matter what business you're in. So I really love what you're chatting about with us today. So thanks. Anything else before we wrap up today?
I think that's it.
All right,
Have
let's
fun.
get some data. Thank you.